Hey guys, we've got another rainy day here. We've had a couple of days of heavy rain here. Today I want to talk about silent quitting. It's something that the West come up with, I guess. This has been something that's been going on for years and decades that people never had a name for. But silent quitting is when somebody is sick of their job or they're being taken advantage of, maybe pay wise or whatever, and it doesn't give you any incentive to keep on, to give more than what they're giving you. You're just giving up the basics. You're filling the job description, and that's it. You're giving nothing more. And the reason why I want to talk about this is this, because I think it's kind of important. And I wanted to get your comments on this also, because I see a lot of people in the Philippines at restaurants and stuff, and they just put in the effort just enough to fulfill the job description. And I notice this happens at some restaurants, some of the big chains too, and also at McDonald's. They just put in the basic effort. They don't want to go over and above because they're getting, 350, 400, 500 pesos maybe for the whole day. In other words, $7 to $10 for the day or whatever, let's say. This is an example. And this happens in the United States too, for people that are on a very small wage, or they're on a salary or whatever. They don't want to put in the extra effort. They don't want to put in any extra time or whatever. They don't. If it's a waitress or whatever, she knows might not get a good raise. Like here in the Philippines, people don't tip well. So I notice a lot of the waitresses, they just don't give a damn. They just don't care. I notice they give you one napkin per person or whatever. And I'm sometimes I wonder whether that's part of this silent quitting thing. They're just putting in the basics. I'm just going to give them each one napkin. They're not going to give me a great tip. And sometimes I've gone into some of these restaurants and said, hey, can I have some extra napkins, please? And they'll go get a napkin holder, put one napkin in there, and bring it back to me when there's three other people at the table or whatever. And I'm looking at them and I says, hey, they need napkins too, and so so don't I. And I'm eating ribs or whatever, or I'm eating a cheeseburger that's dripping or whatever. I would like to get some more napkins. Can you give me more than one each or whatever? Oh, sorry, sir. Yes, I'll go get some. And then they come back again and they do the same thing to you. They'll give you 4 napkins. They'll count them or whatever. And after a while, it's very tiring. But I notice sometimes, like at McDonald's and some of the big chain restaurants, whatever, they won't come back. You have to ask them for the bill. It's almost like pulling teeth trying to get the bill or whatever. So you ask them, hey, is it okay if I get the bill? You'll sit there sometimes for half an hour waiting for the bill, but they won't even come over. They'll keep serving other tables. And the other thing is that they don't come over and say, hey, would you like a refill on your drink? Would you like it? Would you like anything else? Would you like dessert, guys, or anything like that? I notice here, whereas in the United States, they used to ask, if you were in a restaurant that served dessert or something, you guys want dessert? Can I get you anything else? Are you guys all set? People would come back to the table to check because it was more tip oriented. And over here, it's almost like silent quitting. And look up the term online if you get a chance. I'd like to get you guys to put in your 2 cents in the comments, because we always get a really good conversation going on things in the comment section. I think this is one that I think you guys will agree with me, that in the Philippines there's a lot of people that are silent quitting. And granted, this isn't something that was just invented by the West or by the United States. They just gave it a name just lately, and now all of a sudden it's making news. And I notice it's also not just in U.S. news, but it's also in Filipino news. It was on Inquirer and a couple of other sites. I think that's a Filipino site, if I'm not wrong. And anyway, I noticed people talk about it here. There's people, some of the expats have been talking about silent quitting, and we were talking about this the other day. And I think it's going on here. I think it's something that's happening because of the low pay scale here, that a lot of people here are silent quitting. They just do the basics. They show up at work maybe 5 or 10 minutes late. They probably leave as quick as they can. They get out as quick as they can. They don't really care about their jobs. I notice at the banks here, the people are dragging their feet at the banks, and there's a line going out the door. That's silent quitting at its best, I think, when you walk into one of the banks around here and you see these people and they're dragging their feet to go over to the copy machine to do things. They're sitting there, and they're really slow paced. They just don't give a damn about anything, and it takes forever. What should take probably 20 or 30 minutes takes 2 hours. It's almost like they'll service 4 people a day max, They'll do their job description, whatever they need to do, and then they're done. And that's why they have so many people at these banks. And I notice, you know, that it takes these people forever. The tellers, it takes them forever. The manager, you know, she looks like she doesn't even want to work there, you know, at some of the banks here, and they're not very friendly to the customers. I think a lot of that has to do with the pay, and I believe it does. I just noticed it's very user unfriendly in some of the banks, and I think that's part of silent quitting. Now in the restaurants, I notice the people are friendly because they're still looking to get a tip or whatever, but they're still just doing the basics. That's all they're giving you is your basics. They're just serving you what you order, and they bring it to the table, and then you don't really see them again after that. In most cases, they're kind of done with you unless you flag them and call them over, and then you gotta, you know, give them the signal for the receipt, you know, and have them come over to bring the receipt, because otherwise, or the bill, otherwise they won't bring the bill over, you know, and it's just, that's silent quitting, I think. I'd like to get your 2 cents worth on that and see what you think. I think it is silent quitting. I think people over here are doing that. And I notice that the younger generation is really on top of things that are happening in the United States. And since this term came out, just like all the other terms that come out of the United States, I'm wondering if because the Philippines is kind of like an Asian American country. They follow what the U.S. does. Unfortunately, in some cases they do that. In some cases they don't. Or is this something that maybe has been going on because of the low pay scale or whatever? Because I do see some people, they work really hard. I think that they're hoping that maybe they'll be moved up to like shop foreman or something like that, we'll say, you know. And I do see some places where it's worth it to work hard, but most restaurants, most banks, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be a waitress forever, or you're going to be in a bank teller forever. Anyway, guys, God bless. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Make sure you leave your comments, guys.